Or on Twitter, by the way.
Oh my god, not this VTuber. Well, hello everyone. It is Archvile S5. I know it's been a while, but this topic really interested me. It was very interesting to me, to where I wanted to do this and react to it and say my honest thoughts on it. So let's get into it for today.
Vtubing is ruined. What happened to Vtubers? Why is Vtubing so negative now? It's a sincere question that you might have asked, especially if you came into the industry back in its early establishment. And it's a question laced with negativity, usually. If you've been around since like 2020, 2019, you might have a fond memory of what it represented. It was a time when it was magical, it was fresh. Everything was glittering with inspiration and creativity. You felt emotions you've never felt before, a space to enjoy and escape from the real world that wasn't breathing down your neck. But now? Well, it just seems like many places are on fire, and it's hard to ignore the scream in the background. And it's usually the same cycle. First comes vending, then comments, then vape posting, then politics, high school level drama, every single week. It's gotten to a point that I'm getting tired of it. Me, a fucking slop-eating, slop-making retard. They have videos themselves, reminiscing about the good times, pondering what happened. Somewhere in 2020 and 2026, a poison...
That's like a 6-year gap. Since 2020, all the way to 2026, this is what has happened so far.
Was dropped in the well. Something that cascaded the industry to this messy dumpster fire that, despite its many ups and downs, many people still call home. So, what happened? But before we continue, may I interest you in other videos not meant for the peasants to see? In that case, I recommend you join my channel membership or my Patreon. We have monthly exclusive banners in there as well as uncensored versions of certain content.
Wow.
And besides, you help me keep creating banners like these in the long term with your support. So if you have some spare change for a cup of coffee every month or something, consider giving it to me instead. Anyway, that's all. Thank you, and let's go back to the video. Let's make things clear first. Since 2020, where a lot of traditional fans became fans, the scene has always been plagued with a lot of negativity and drama and tribalistic behavior, especially from Hololive fans and the Jisanji fans. During those days, stuff happened, like Yozo Ramel harassed in the workspace, Mano Aloy's graduation exploding in Hololive's face, Capcom intentionally targeting Hololive for not getting proper permissions for their games, Hololive fans being skeptical of English, the karaoke.
Yeah, I even remember where, I even saw it through Smuggler's video, and it was very good takes. And even though this, from what I remember before reacting to this again, is this VTuber was what got doxxed, I think, which was not it was just not good.
Taiwan incident, Hololive China being dissolved and the political shenanigans that came from that, Mori Calliope's Lee incident, Mori Calliope's Connor incident, Mori Calliope being baited by the
Whoa!
Rose incident, Mori Calliope's Gura incident. There was a lot of Mori Calliope drama. Heck, even outside Hololive, we had the voice replacement incident of Kizuna Ai, the kick.
Oh wow.
Yuzaka Meru versus Yuzuki Ryu civil.
Oh wow.
Project Melody's VTuber model getting copyright struck by the model.
Wow.
But most of the drama I'm gonna wager you haven't really heard of, especially the smaller ones. Or you might even think that it wasn't that big of a deal. But even despite all this negativity, there was a massive upside. People chose not to focus on the drama too much and the negativity, including myself. Because Vtubing was so magical, it incited a lot of very deep and positive emotions. It inspired so much creativity and will that the fact that there were a lot of drama was almost brushed under the rug. In this one small bubble, the positivity overpowered the negativity, even while that negativity was happening during its peak. But as the magic of Vtubing slowly disappeared, as the freshness faded and the industry expanded, that positive energy also went away. The honeymoon period being over left fans roiling in the negativity that remains. But a few people might not see it that way, especially the newcomers. I hear a lot of opinions about why Vtubing became the way that it is, whether or not they prefer it. VTubers focus so much on the streamer aspect rather than the character part. I interpreted this as a lot of newcomers focusing too much on the business rather than the fun.
Yeah.
Coming overall a well-oiled machine rather than an entertainer. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have tweets like this from Jocat saying that
Wait, let me read that part. What? That's like, yeah, I honestly would say this. That's like a total yes and no on this one. Because why? Because, look, showing your face. There are some instances where a VTuber revealing their face and by photo and stuff like that, that's just where people are going to come after them. We might come after them. I mean, like, there's people that may dox, harass, or even do other means to do some real bad stuff to VTubers, which is not good. So with that being said, now showing your face, that's not really good. Like, in my opinion, I think you can update people on your IRL stuff. That's fine. But just remember that there's actually like a price for that. Because, like, seriously, I remember during, like, seriously, I remember like this. Like, if some people who reveal their face, 9 times out of 10, it's kind of like on them if they get doxxed or something like that. Some people don't realize it. Some people don't. Some people do realize it. There's a majority that don't. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, there's people that may even try to... As for people being open about having a partner, and keep in mind, I remember this one VTuber that was open about getting married, and her viewership halved, which was not really a good thing. Which is not really a good thing, so with all honesty... Yeah, like, seriously, like it's good to be in a relationship and still do what you enjoy, which is great. So that's where I'd say that's like a yes and no in the VTubing industry, where you say kind of proud of VTubers, slowly but surely breaking down the idol culture roots of VTubing, showing your face, being open about having a partner, keeping parasocialness in check. I think it's healthy overall. That's like a total yes and no type of answer coming from me.
That Vtubing is becoming better because everyone is slowly shedding the idol culture parts of the medium. So which is it? Is Vtubing becoming worse or getting better? Obviously, your answer will ultimately depend on factors like when you became interested in Vtubing and entered the industry, and who your favorite creators are, and if you are a creator yourself, what kind of creator you want to be. And as you can surmise from the title, I am leaning towards the former, especially because I am a traditional VTuber fan, who mostly watches VTubers that associate more with the JP-adjacent culture rather than the English Twitch streamer culture. And from my thinking, I have created a model that encapsulates why Vtubing has become the way that it is. I call it the 4Ds: difficulty, disillusionment, division, and drama. I think this is the loop that made Vtubing the way that it is, and wherever you might have started falling into the piece here, I've noticed that it always happens in this order. So let me break it down. As Vtubing expanded, there became more views, more money to harvest, but also more competition. There became less things to try and innovate on. Back then, when there were few VTubers, innovation and even unique character design elements and gimmicks were easier to do because the space was emptier. There were still lots of strats and undiscovered niches, but now, a lot of niches has been filled. Standing out has become a lot more difficult. This bred a bit of desperation, a sense of defensiveness or insecurity for a VTuber's own content, design, and even fans. We saw small groups of this behavior from multiple...
So I'm just reading this. Okay, so if you guys don't know about this Cinder situation, I'm gonna break it down for you a little bit just by saying after something happened between her and the artist and her trying to like and how she acted towards other VTubers, including Silverveil. And one thing I must say is, I even decided to leave. Not only just me that decided to leave the server. I mean, it's just like this. After that incident that happened, I decided to just like leave. I'm pretty sure others decided to leave our server, and it was just very sad that time that she decided to with how she acted towards other VTubers. When it came, if I remember correctly, if it came to like her not being supportive of other VTubers, but the only VTuber she actually liked that she wanted to be friends with was Silvervale. In my honest thoughts, I'm not sure what was going through Silvervale's mind. I'm not her, but I'm pretty sure she was just genuinely busy. So that's all I gotta say about it from what I've heard. But then again, I'm not Silvervale and her thoughts about it. I'm just Archvile S5. That's all I gotta say. But one thing I must say is, and after that happened, that incident happened, she decided to like write down in Google Docs, write down a 1,000-page Google Doc. And I haven't, with all honesty, I've not bothered to read through all of that, if I'm gonna be honest, because it was just, oh my lord, that's a lot.
Multiple big VTubers when the Cinder incident happened. When VTubing became big, it started to get more difficult to create content that could retain your viewers while also attracting more. This might not be the case for a lot of the bigger already established creators, but it is the case for most of the creators that wanted to climb the ladder, and believe me, there was a lot. Without the support of something like Hololive, how the hell were you supposed to grow your own brand? This was when a lot of new agencies popped up, led by people with mysterious background and probably almost zero business experience. And they promised you a little bit of what Hololive does, but without the glam and pre-established numbers. Some VTubers join these agencies, but normally...
Wait, what are these people? So I'm just reading all this, let me see. All these VTuber names. What?
They are short-lived because a lot of them collapse in the most miserable yet spectacular way. It's a miracle if they just die peacefully and, without drama. Whether these incidents happened because the CEO was a sex pest, or the gen mates were schizophrenic that it ruins the company from the inside, or, maybe just the simple but innocent CEO is not that good at business. Lots of things could go wrong behind the scenes, and it could genuinely affect how some of these VTubers see the industry. But let's say you're just an indie that didn't need an agency but needed a bit of help. Perhaps the aid of a third-party company or solo managers was the way to go. But then turns out you end up being scammed or being sex-baited. Seems to become a occurrence here for some reason. But when agencies and companies got enough, some people started to do interesting things. Without the support of an agency, the strat for a lot of VTubers was to be active on Twitter and engage with fans and nerd stuff before debuting themselves.
Look, I do have a Twitter account myself, but one thing's for sure, I don't really try to chat on Twitter because of how I know people are on there. Because some people, they would just be ready to just how do I say this? Talk to you disrespectfully or act disrespectful towards you in some way. I was like, because after seeing this one incident, I'm just like, yeah, I don't want none of that. Just rather just enjoy what I do, just go on my day and just observe from the sidelines, from my phone, without saying anything on the Twitter platform.
At first, this was a success, with one of the more notable examples being Artemis of the Blue. But then some of these people started bitching and whining about the lack of success, instead of, actually streaming and putting effort and researching what
exactly.
These permanent...
Exactly. Put in that effort. Wait... Oh my way! Oh gosh! Oh, that's very terrible thing to just say to an artist. Okay, that's kind of disrespectful a little bit. I'm gonna say it, cause like now saying I'm gonna pay you back with the with likes from my followers. Dude, I mean that, like, seriously, I'm not gonna lie. They were like, what can you expect? Like, even in today's current with artists, I'll get there in a moment. But one thing's for sure, that's kind of disrespectful.
Debut TBA creators would be called Vtubers. And I mention them because a lot of the negativity and drama that happens in the industry is on Twitter and is caused by Vtubers and tweets in general, regardless if they were Vtubers or not. But some of them actually started grinding, and some would even implement a few less than ethical tactics.
Yeah.
At first, it was relatively subtle, like copying design elements. Sometimes
Now, this one's not really that bad. I don't think of it as personally that bad.
intentionally to leech off of one of the popular ones, sometimes unintentionally.
Now, this one, I don't find that as bad either. Why? Because it's just the model that is inspired by somebody, but they're just doing what they enjoy. Like, but this one, I'm just like, I don't find the one right next to Charlotte that bad. So that's just what I think.
Intentionally. Not to leech, but because they found it to be a cool design gimmick or because they
But now this one, I don't find any subtle differences in there, with all honesty. Now that one's kind of like not. Yeah, I don't find that one very good. With like how the person is managing that.
because they looked up to the VTuber, or sometimes two different minds just come up with the same design or gimmick.
Yeah.
At the same time. But then it started to escalate. People started aggressively collabing with other VTubers, not to foster friendships, but to borrow their platform or organize their own network, having their fingers on a bit of everyone's pie. They would pretend to be fans or supporters, slowly worming their way to that creator's circle, pestering them, not really even considering them as friends, but more so jumping paths just so they can leech off of them a little bit. An entire discussion even appeared on Twitter on whether or not collab.
Yeah, this thing is very accurate. Like, collab does not equal friends, sadly. Where Peach is like, did you actually expect us to become friends after collab? And this VTuber would say, kinda.
Collabing should purely be a business decision or something you should be able to do with just your friends. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it does speak to the intentions of many VTubers and how they appear on stream.
Right.
As a fan, how do we tell who are real friends versus who are just collabing to social climb and rub shoulders with bigger content creators? It got to a point that even big.
Okay, so Demi said, I don't know if I'm just old school, but what's up with VTubing space being so open about being leeches and only looking at other streamers as connections? And literally a stepping stool for growth. Back in the day, y'all would have gotten shunned for that behavior. This is Demi's words. Oh.
Big creators started complaining about how used they feel when they became victims of this. But VTuber wannabes weren't the only parasites. There were also Twitch e-girls. Even e-girls and Twitch streamers were using the VTuber tag on Twitch at one point to capitalize off of the rising trend.
Oh,
Which gave way
man.
for a lot of these e-girls to try their hand in the medium, without really even understanding, appreciating, or participating in the culture. But if
Yeah.
that wasn't enough, they'd repost memes, copy-paste and recycle engagement-based trends. And look, I respect it. I like reading through some of these trends and engagement baits myself, but some of them can get a little too weird for comfort. It could be vague posting about something, it could be a rage bait, it could be sympathy bait, or even virtue signaling. Sometimes they even join trends that are usually a guaranteed attention magnet like art raffles, or more notoriously, VTuber versus IRL, who started off innocent enough and still in line with the media.
Now, these VTubers that tried to do the VTuber versus IRL trend, not gonna lie, that does not turn out well. Because for one, with them just doxing themselves, like, it's just where they are asking to be doxed. That's just one thing I'm gonna be honest about.
Medium, but then they started to integrate actual flesh posting.
Yep.
And the moment this happened, it became a bit of a slippery slope.
Yep.
Because then a lot of indie VTubers started to not just stop on the VTuber versus IRL trend, but started to integrate their bodies and faces as part of their regular content. And I'm not talking about the occasional hand cam or walking streams, I'm talking about IRL. I say this mostly as observation and judgment, but there's a lot of VTubers whose regular content, whether that be on their streams or on their tweets, aren't really even of their characters anymore, but rather their bodies. And it eventually falls into a pipeline of doing OnlyFans or fanslay content that don't even use their VTuber models porn, like what many authentic nude VTubers.
Like seriously, like why does this girl even need a VTuber model? She literally has she has like a nice body and really is really beautiful. So, but then one thing's for sure, why do we need? One thing's for sure, why do we need? One thing's for sure, why does she have? Let me pause and think. Why does she have to do OF or this other type or this other social media platform that's similar to that? It's just not good. I'm gonna be honest with that.
VTubers do. And look, I know there's a lot of weird hate against fans that use VTubers now, and if the VTuber uses their actual VTuber models or just art themselves, I think that's fair game. The occasional flesh posting to me is okay, especially cosplay related ones. Even if
now, cosplay related ones, that's fair, but then again, it still is like a slippery slope because then there's people that can still get doxxed. Personally, that's just what I think personally.
it's not safe for work, especially if you've been upfront about your content, and especially if that was the natural pipeline for your career, like if you were a porn VA, for example, or a VR chat streamer. But I think if your regular content and your NSFW is just your IRL, especially with your face attached, and you market yourself as a VTuber, I would be inclined to think that in large part you're not really a VTuber. Of course, there are exceptions, especially when you're categorized as a live streamer who happens to have a VTuber model, like Onigiri and Kayson, but it's hard not to think that. And the thing is, this trend is not exclusive to Western VTubers, as much as a lot of the whining traditional fans like to believe. Many indie JP VTubers actually exploit this as well. If you use the godforsaken site known as Twitter, you might have seen a lot of these. A lot.
Yep. Oh wow.
A lot of VTubers bouncing their tits and showing their full naked bodies.
Brother, why do these VTubers even do this?
And it gets them lots of views. Goonbait is and always will be a tried and true method for catching attention in the internet. But perhaps on a VTuber's last attempt to find viewers, some take on one of the bigger gambles, breaking what used to be a big taboo in VTuber, political commentary.
Oh, no!
You see, traditionally, Vtubing was supposed to be non-political. Like, there was nothing about anime e-girls that was supposed to reflect real-world current happenings. It was supposed to be a place for escapism. You don't fucking preach about BLM and fuck ICE whenever you're live or you're tweeting. But you also don't preach about the fucking loss of Christian values or pro-clutch about sex workers. But as it is when niche nerdy things become mainstream, political people come in, from all walks and backgrounds. It's always been a thing on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Politics on the internet is gonna stress people out. Like, one hand, like it depends on. Look, if you post that on Twitter, it's gonna have some people talking to you about it. It's gonna have some people being stressed out about it, or just having people that just genuinely don't care about it that much. And I'm one of those people. It's just like, I would want to stay aware of what's going on around the world, but then again, it's good to just like keep this in mind. But I just want to keep this in mind to keep that to myself, because look, the internet on social media platforms is not a good place to talk about politics, in my opinion, because it causes stress.
But they were largely ignored up until the big 2023, when Pikami and Silverville were harassed by Twitter slacktivists because they dared to play the Wizard King. But then other communities started to form, and then other communities that were formed to counter them. It
Let me
suddenly
go
started
pause.
with people like
Gotta turn on what's going on YouTube. Alright, and I'm back for now, and we can relax. Alright, let's continue.
Pipa also got roped into
Wait, let's continue. My bad.
it. Bro doesn't want any of this bullshit in the industry and was never really part of the entire culture war. However, the identity politics crowd deemed her to be right-leaning because she hates that this poison was infesting the industry and because Face Connect was, you know, loved by 4chan. On the other side of the there were also multiple people making their declarations, like Uki Violeta of Milisanji EN's blatant hate for white people, and Finanas educate herself into it, claiming that the Japanese term trap was transphobic. This happened in 2022, but whatever. A lot of these politically charged incidents slowly but surely gave rise to a new breed of political figures. Now, we have seemingly right-leaning figures like Powder and Leaflet, while on the other we have Niara and, Anna Valens, question mark? Sorry, I could not think of any left-leaning politically charged VTubers that had like a bigger platform. There are also more on Twitter, by the way.
Oh my god, not this VTuber. I remember this VTuber, after even watching a clip, she decides to show her VTuber model showing a naked model of her own VTuber model. And that was crazy, along with naked art. And that's just... why would someone even do this? And I just find it personally kind of wild. And not just wild, but crazy. And now with that being said, she is banned from not only just YouTube, but also from Twitch. All because she decided to do that, which I find crazy.
We now have lots of political commentators in Vtubing who mostly just tweets about it and occasionally does a little bit of streaming or who doesn't stream at all. I'd explain more of the history about how this happened, but that's worth an entire video. You're gonna have to settle on super reductive, oversimplified version. All of this combined had Vtubing develop its own battleground of political ideologies. Now more than ever, talking about politics is a risky yet effective way to grow your numbers.
Yes, it's not. I would not call it effective because why? It just brings in more political people in there. I mean, it may be nice, but then sometimes it may evolve like a downside of where people don't want to hear about that too hard. I mean, I'm just saying this. I'm just saying like this. I would not want to hear about it. Especially if I am aware of it, honestly.
Regardless of right or left, if you are a traditional VTuber fan, it's like a landfill was forming right outside your gated village. If you go outside the gate, you can definitely fucking smell it. It's gotten to a point that even it has attracted the attention of traditional fans who normally wouldn't participate in these kind of discussions. But in lieu of the happening being outside, some feel compelled to say their piece, especially the Sanji fans, like some members that are more politically driven than others. Though perhaps it was always inevitable that politics was going to invade VTubing. So, hey, you know, if you need a quick number or follower boost, say one of the two things. The N-word, hard R, and preach about Christianity or something, or that white people need to be cold and fuck the patriarchy.
Man, those two options are insane. Even I gotta say it. Those two options are very, very insane. I would go with none of those options.
Or something. But Musagi, I hear you ask, what if I'm not North American and these politics don't apply to me? Tough luck. Pretend to be a Westoid, I guess. Or maybe be racist towards Koreans and the Chinese instead. That usually works sometimes. All these strategies, from copying design elements, copying and participating in rampant engagement, sympathy and rage bait, the leeching, the trend joining, the drama farming, we'll get into that later, and the political grifting, all scream one point. Everyone wants attention.
Yep.
Everyone, and I mean everyone, is competing hard for the limited attention and eyes Vtubing has. Vtubing ultimately has a cap on the numbers of viewers. The biggest VTuber that we have that is yet to be surpassed was Gargura at 4 million subscribers.
Yep.
That is like less than 10 times smaller than the regular community.
Yeah. ISO speed is up there, which is good.
And it's one that hasn't really moved significantly since 2020. So everyone is a bit desperate. Everyone is struggling to keep their career sustainable and is often willing to do anything to reach the top or maintain their status quo, even if it means betraying, even if it means LARPing, even if it means sacrificing your mental health. And because everyone is having a difficult time, it leads to the next D in our pipeline, disillusionment.
Yep.
For the VTuber side, after
And this is very common, even outside of the VTuber space.
the usual agency experience of being abused or sex-fested or even bullied by your own genmates, it might be a little hard to trust people again. But what is even harder is if the people you used to work with, like your genmates, started to actually be successful and climb the ladder. You know some of these people. They are not good people. How?
Yeah, they're absolute clout demons if they try to farm from... Like, seriously, I don't understand. I cannot understand. Like, one way I get that they want to become famous and stuff like that, but just because they want more clout, more followers, even if it means backstabbing somebody, that's crazy. I find it crazy.
How the fuck are they being rewarded? Another case. What if the acquaintance or friend that you've trusted so much that you've exposed your heart to ends up betraying you after one or two disagreements? Hell, another would be if a third-party company that you hired to deal with your shit ended up scamming you. Maybe the fans you've lovingly cultivated decides to abandon you after you're no longer the shiniest girl in the block. Or worse, if you do GFE, turn into an anti after they just try to dox you and discover that you had a partner, or if you did something that they did not like. What does any of this mean for a girl? Disillusion. The magic is gone. You see the industry for what it truly is behind the scenes. Different cabals scheming, conniving, and backstabbing their way to the top. A bunch of immature, high school-minded, and emotionally, intellectually stunted people who would dump an expose on your ass for a mistake that could have been talked about in private.
Right.
A bunch of predatory and exploitative individuals trying to siphon as much money and clout as they can from anyone they can snake out of. This medium that used to inspire so much creative spark in you has begun to develop a negative association. A feeling that looms so heavy it makes you want to give up on this industry. And that is a very, very sad thing.
Yes, it's a very sad thing. Very, very sad thing that happened in the VTubing industry.
And if you are a fan or an audience member, it's a bit similar. The collapse of multiple agencies you might have been a fan of, the exposés and many mistakes of the creators you've loved. The vague
And he says he wants to terminate his work with Cinder, and he has a valid reason. The artist has a valid reason.
drama that they get themselves embroiled in or started, the side comments, the questionable decisions, all piled on top of each other.
Oh
It
man.
plants a seed of doubt in your head, and that seed eventually grows. You just stop liking people. You just stop trusting VTubers. Stop trusting VTuber agencies. That once source of boundless joyful energy from your favorite streamer group could get spoiled by one bad Google Doc. Suddenly, you question if your Oshis are the people you thought they were. You notice how fake a lot of things seem. It is reminiscent of celebrity culture before the internet was a thing. People loved actors. People really only hated certain celebrities for superficial reasons, like, Justin Bieber gay or his music bad.
I really cannot say shit or even laugh. Find this funny, but yeah. But one thing I must say is, people like to assume certain things. I remember one time when I was just walking outside and stuff like that, just going out for a casual walk, and then I see two girls just whispering, saying something like of how I might look gay or something like that. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be honest. They don't really know me. And one thing I'll say is like this: I'm a straight guy. I know I am. When I'm straight, I mean like I like women. That's it. But then again, some people just like to make assumptions, which is not really good because, for one, they don't know the person, nor does the person being judged know them. So that's all I gotta say about that.
But when the internet became a thing, they started yapping, and the more they opened their mouth, they revealed how dumb, malicious, or profoundly unlikable they are.
Yes.
In about half a generation, their carefully crafted PR and identities got broken down online because they cannot shut the fuck up. Such a thing is happening in VTubing. Even VTubers that used to be uncritiquable now have critics because of the things they do or say, and sometimes it's even because of things they don't do or say. Figures like Bob, Amal, Irons, Shiny, and even fucking Iago. Iago! While they are still beloved in the mainstream, doubts about their character have been planted already, and these doubts are no longer just living in 4chan boards and circles. They are a bit more widespread now. Just waiting for their next drama so they can jump like an alligator. And whether you agree or disagree with the criticisms around them, it's clear that the tides are shifting against the medium as a whole. And I think this is just a symptom of the greater point, that people are noticing. And when people notice, they do one of two things: step back or double down. Those that aren't unemployed or do actually touch grass prefer to step back. But because these are VTuber fans that are dedicated and parasocial to their favorites, and because these are VTubers that need their platforms to be alive, most industry members opt to actually double down.
Not gonna lie, as an employed man myself, I think it's kind of a good move to like step back. Cause look, I'm like, this is good to be mindful of what you say and what you do. Cause look, man, like even it's just like saying, like, if I were to say something about somebody or a famous VTuber, not gonna lie, it's good to keep those opinions to myself, because for one, I'm gonna be honest about this. I would not want it on my conscience to where I get backlash by a VTuber or really get like get into drama with somebody by their community. And one thing's for sure, I would not want if I ever do build a community, I hope none of y'all do not try to harass somebody. Because harassing people, I find it wrong. And I don't personally wish that on any other person, honestly. That's my honest thoughts on that part.
Thus, the next D happens: division. Every VTuber wants to grow, no matter fucking what.
And now we're on this one. Division, yes. Every VTuber does want to grow. But one thing's for sure, I just think they should just do what they enjoy, and that will come to them. Then just be like, complain and say, why am I not getting so much subscribers? Why am I not getting so much views? Well, I mean, do you still enjoy? I mean, look, keep going, keep going with what you're doing with the streaming, and you will be okay. That will come to you in time, if you just don't give up on it.
Everyone wants the industry to improve and expand, but everyone sees how to do it differently. Old school traditional VTubers and fans prefer to keep it as it is when they join, character-driven, dismissive of drama, a space truly and purely for weebs and losers. Lighthearted. Usually, these are your Hololive and small agency fans, and VTubers and VTuber fans who's been around since 2020 or 2021. Anyone that's adjacent to the JV side of the industry, really. But newer fans want to see it change, bereft of audio culture, no parasocialism, able to show your faces, sanitized. These people came from the Twitch and Western streamer culture. So these two types of fans see certain acts or cultural aspects differently. For a few examples, traditional fans hate the trend hopping and engagement bait, and the VTuber versus...
Okay, so it says here, traditionals frown on infrequent IRL content integrations, especially face reveals. No, these observations are generalized. They apply for a large function, but not all encompassing. I'll be right back, guys. I gotta deal with something. Alright, now we're back, guys. Sorry about that.
Opportunistic egos as well as predatory businessmen saw a golden opportunity. And when the large influx of these people came, they chose to dismiss many of its cultural aspects and turn it into an aesthetic choice.
Look, if you guys have ever seen this one video of a guy just like look, just well, he was just he met was what he thought was like a VTuber girl or something like that. But then behind the screen, when his camera glitched, it showed a man. That's where I have to say, yeah, it did open up a Pandora's box of problems here and there, but it wasn't really that bad. But then again, it's just when people are predatory about it. That's just sorry, gotta clear my throat. I found it just very wrong in a way. But if they want to be a VTuber model, have that out. At least don't try to play with the. At least I just hope they don't try to play with a man's heart like that. It's just why.
Or a brand new buzzword that they can pitch to investors or something. Some of the new people coming in aren't really even weebs. They're tourists that just saw what looks to be the cool, new, fresh hip thing, or just wanted to have the feeling of identifying with something. I always mourn the death of a culture that were made by nerds and losers, because when said cultures became mainstream, a lot of what makes it soulful gets removed for something more normal. The current development of Vtubing is just one of the mainstream's many victims, in my opinion. But at the same time, it's not like I like all parts of the traditional culture too. For example, while I don't mind GFA or parasocial relationships and even think it gets overly demonized, I also think that it's weird some traditional fans hate it when their Oshis talk to the opposite sex like a Holostar or Jisanji member. That some people engage too deeply with it or have deluded themselves into thinking that these VTubers, these girls, are actually single. The tribal...
Wow. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them do get engaged. And with that being said, it's a good. With that being said, some people don't really. I mean, there's certain VTubers that talk about their IRL stuff, and there's some VTubers that don't. But one thing's for sure, I wouldn't mind talking about my IRL stuff. So that's really kind of fair. But as long as I don't face reveal myself, I should be fine.
Tribalistic parts of idol culture is something I don't like. I don't like how certain bad situations are often downplayed because they don't like the negative air of drama, and they perpetuate this forced air sanitation. And in relation to that, I don't like how hotboxing feels most of the time. Some of these people actually worship the multi-million-dollar agency and treat these adult women like they're toddlers. Criticism, even constructive, is not welcome. At the same time, something that I agree with the newer fans is self-expression. Being able to talk about problems in the industry is a good thing. Being able to do more with the concept of piloting a virtual character is cool, to a certain extent. For example, I think Vtubing is fine, but even saying that is going to give me fierce pushback from traditional fans, and at the same...
Exactly. Because, like, if you admit that, I mean, there's gonna be some parts of it where you can be either successful or not as successful from that.
Time, it isn't enough to count me in as welcoming the newer fans' tribe. But why I am talking about this isn't to broadcast my opinion, it's to explain that my situation is only one of many, and it's a consequence of this big divide. Nuances are thrown out of the window to favor agendas and broader, more extreme narratives. You, as a fan or a VTuber, are categorized based off of vibes, based off of the VTubers that you watch, and you are supposed to help the collective push the agenda even if there are things you disagree with on your own tribe. I remember back in the day, there used to be cross-pollination between cultures. Holo and Twitch VTuber fans, for example, were like curious and generally welcoming citizens that wanted to meet with each other and see the sides of their nations.
Exactly. I mean, look, I remember this one VTuber that wanted to do a collab with Shy Lily. It was quite. Wait, what was her name? Dang, I forgot her name. Yeah, there's so many VTuber names I cannot remember, but this one I remember, but I just forgot her name. I'm sorry. But I mean, I should know it from the back of my head.
It used to be a big deal, and an entire event even, when a Hololive member would collab with a Shoujo member or an Ojisagi.
Yeah, that was like, seriously, that was very good. I'm going to admit, it was very fun collab with the Shiley and and the other VTuber. It was very nice.
GN member. For example, do we all remember the Romeo and Juliet memes of Kiara and Pomo? But again, as time passed on, the differences grew too big. Incidents such as the Big Vijisan GN Discord, the V-Shoujo Status situation, the Wizard Game incident, and other politically laced drama created a sense of animosity between each other. And yes, there are still traditional fans that like new VTubers, and VTuber fans that like traditional VTubers, but we rarely see cross-cultural pollination happen anymore. And I think that's a sad thing.
Yeah, it really is a sad thing. Because, yeah, I don't think we really see that as much, but I think in current times we do see it, but then again, we don't see it all the time. So, like, I have seen this one collab. I'm not sure if this is really true, but I have seen it, but I'm not sure. I don't know if it was true or not.
Of course, between the traditional and new fans, they have their own sub-factions.
Oh no.
Incidents like Cinderdoki drew circles in the indie sphere, how that fandom doesn't even know if they should like Philly or not, the Holostars act.
This part right here, this part reminds me of Quake's Kenshin a little bit, like whenever he exits YouTube. Doesn't really say anything. I just really think personally, Quake's Kenshin, he's actually a busy guy, and he's the only source of when he's coming back to YouTubing. So I don't know. So I can't say that for sure. But for Sabo left, come back to VTubing with and it turned out it's overpriced merch, and then left again without another word. With all honesty, even I gotta say it, she might be busy.
Axin and Sameko Sabadra also toward divide in the traditional group. Both are not as unified as you might think. I could draw a map of these groups of people as well as their factions, but that would require me to go full autist mode and speculate like a motherfucker. Maybe I'll do that in another video or something.
And there's another ad.
As a whole, these frequent clashes, these attempts to gain popularity, the disillusioned people who see the industry for what it is, culminate in the last D. Drama. Aside from political grifting, engagement baiting, copycatting, virtue signaling, aesthetic stealing, and goonerism,
yep.
There is also drama farming. Now obviously, I'm part of this problem. I've been making videos about Vtubing since late 2021, and I originally didn't start covering drama a lot. I was broadly focused towards commentary and recalling events, but during the big 2024, I pivoted somewhat.
Now, with all honesty, drama tubers. I mean, at least they're informing me and all other people on what's going on in the VTubing industry. So I wouldn't say it's that bad to me, in my opinion. And as for me, I don't really react to these things as much. But one thing's for sure. It's this one video did really it caught my interest, and I wanted to do a reaction video out of this.
And now I stream at least once a week talking about the drama that happens in the industry, and I upload highlights and clips onto my second channel. I have a passion for artistically talking about issues, events, and wider topics about Vtubing as a culture and media. That's what my main channel is for. But me doing drama was a natural step in the pipeline. And the thing is, it's successful. In fact, it is so fucking successful that sometimes even my highlights channel actually beats my main channel in terms of monthly viewership. But the thing is, I'm not the only one that did this, especially in 2024 and 2025. In fact, I would like to think I'm one of the slower ones. Kyo and Floss ID are gone, and some of the drama-hating parts of the industry celebrated that. But the thing is, they left a massive gap in the market. People that were worse or better were eventually going to replace them. And that gap, that demand, was filled in by creators like Kazakhana and Lydia, fucking even Katriente to a certain extent. And that's only on the YouTube side of things. The drama coverage and discussion on the Twitter side is inarguably 100 times worse. On Twitter, it's not just drama and news tubers that talks about news and drama, it's fucking everyone. Everyone has something to say about current event. So in VTubing, whenever...
Exactly. I'm not even gonna lie. There's like certain people that do take things out of context, or like to clip something, or like to clip something and make it out of context because they're triggered by what the person said, which is something I find that's just not good.
Whenever something bad happens, and if you're on the goddamn side, you're going to know or hear about it one way or another. And the sheer number of people drama peddling makes the negative air around the industry thicker. So much so that 1 week without major drama is actually a godsend. VTuber fans can actually breathe for a bit, and I actually get to watch some streams. Blocking people like me isn't really even enough to stop drama from appearing in your timeline at this point. Again, you will hear about drama one way or another.
That's true.
Timeline might even get full of it, and it's only a matter of time and topic that you will eventually participate in it as well. The main point of this particular D, the core of it, is that negativity sells. Agenda posting, publicly throwing shade at people you don't like but did nothing to, creating Google
exactly
for the most nothing burger issues.
Exactly.
Ignoring healthy communication with your peers so you can make a big stink about it.
Exactly.
Virtue signaling and vague posting about the bad thing are all meta traps employed by VTubers.
This is all in what happens in the VTubing space, but I don't think it's just in the VTubing space. This could also occur outside of the VTubing space as well. And like on different communities.
Big and small, even the ones that you know. Whether you want to admit it or not, a lot of VTubers start drama or exactly know what they're doing by saying or doing something inflammatory, whether for attention or for their own unspoken agenda. All of this compounds because people are having a difficult time gaining attention. There's going to be drama. Because people are disillusioned, there's going to be drama. Because people are divided, there is going to be drama.
Yep.
When the industry is filled and dominated by high school-minded people, this becomes a toxic and deliberate self-sustaining cycle. I think these are the main reasons why VTubing has become so negative. I'm sure you have something to say that I might have missed, but I think whatever you can think of will roughly fit into one of the 4 Ds. Again, admittedly I am part of this cycle, but I guarantee you 99% of the creators and fans in this space are all part of the cycle too. Many of the VTubers you like might have also politically grifted or currently is, might have also done bad engagement bait or sympathy or rage baits up till now, might have virtue signaled and still do, might have grandstanded and still do, might have started or peddled drama and still do. We just need to be a bit honest with ourselves. Everyone has sort of a hand in setting precedents that made the industry a tiny bit worse. Worse in this case is subjective, but the discussion of it still breathes that same air of conflict, of negativity. And I think that's why we can't go back to the way it used to be. We were just so optimistic and captured by the magical nature of VTubing. Now we don't have that figurative anesthesia anymore. However, even if that's the case, there is still a way to engage in VTubing that might preserve a little bit of that magic if it's still on your person. And it's uninstalled Twitter. No, seriously, just uninstalled Twitter. 99% of the drama comes from Twitter. Okay?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, 99% of the drama does come from Twitter. As for me, personally, I honestly would just not. I rarely use Twitter as much. And with that being said, I just use it just to observe what's going on. That's it. But even so, if I do become famous, yes, I'm going to uninstall Twitter. That's all. That's one thing I would do.
Okay? Or heck, a less effective yet sort of valid way is to block people. You don't want to hear about drama? Block it. You don't like certain VTubers? Block them and their fans. Yeah. To a certain extent, the happiest remaining VTuber fans are the ones that are ignorant of the bullshit that is going on Twitter and usually just stick to their own circles. Clip watchers who only watch the occasional VTubers, or don't give too much of a fuck to delve deep into threads. Casuals who engage with a little bit of everyone. Stream watchers that focus their energy entirely on the VTuber and their group streams, and only engage with the peers and community instead of everything else. Unironically, the one effective way that I've noticed the happier parts of the industry do is just to ignore everything else. No engaging with it, just ignoring it. Try doing that with instances. Focusing all your energy into having fun instead of anything else was unironically the source of positivity in 2020. The rest of the world was negative, especially the pandemic. But VTubers allowed an outlet to be able to have fun by ignoring the world for it. In a sense, just do the same thing that we've all done before, albeit more deliberate this time. Despite the flawed nature of VTubing and its people, I still call it my home. There's a reason I keep coming back to it even after my 10th graduation/hiatus. It's a fucked up place, but there's life. It's still beautiful. There are still sights to behold, people to meet, subcultures and communities to explore, and 2D girls to sing for our odds. So despite the absolute state of VTubing, I'm gonna stick around. And you know, I hope some of the people watching this video still do too.